The Pharmacy on Today, sponsored by Boots.
Now, January is always a time for us to take stock on how we live and maybe make plans to improve our health. And right now, of course, our immune systems really need to be as strong as they can possibly be.
So what can we do to boost them for the next few months? Boots pharmacist Heather Feeney has a plan. Heather, what should we be feeding our immune system?
Yeah, so I think right now it's in the first instance really important that we're protecting our immune systems by following our government advice and staying home, so not exposing ourselves to the coronavirus out there at the minute. But in terms of things that we can do from home, there's quite a lot. So our first kind of piece of advice is to always just maintain a really nutritious diet. So making sure you're getting in those vitamins and nutrients that are associated with having a strong immune system. So those are things like zinc, which you'd find in meat and whole grains, vitamin C that we get from our citrus fruits, and then really important to call out vitamin D, especially considering the fact that we are staying at home right now. We're probably not getting a lot of sunlight, so some people might want to even consider taking a supplement at present. Then I suppose in addition to things you can do on top of diet, things like getting your exercise, going outside, particularly going for walks and doing things that exert your lungs a little bit to try and build up that lung strength while COVID is circulating, and then doing all those right things like reducing our alcohol consumption, making sure that we're sleeping well, getting a lot of rest during the days, and just generally kind of taking care of yourself. So your immune system is really associated with your own kind of well-being. So just doing all those right things that we're especially conscious of at this new year.
Yeah, you mentioned alcohol there. How important is it to not drink too much for our immunity?
Oh, really important. So alcohol has a whole host of effects on the body that aren't, particularly positive. While drinking in moderation is okay, and we do have those drink-aware guidelines, and people will consume alcohol. Certainly, it does have an impact on our immunity, and it's ever more important right now to be considering that while COVID is so rampant in communities. Certainly, reducing your alcohol content is very important, and a lot of people like to engage in things like dry January, and we would advocate for that.
And Heather, you also mentioned sleep. How important is sleep, and how much sleep should we get every night?
So our general guidelines are somewhere between 7 to 8 hours per night of restful sleep. And by restful sleep, I mean when you go to bed, not taking your phone, not having a scroll on Facebook and Instagram, not watching television from the bed, going to bed for sleep. And you'll find that kind of improves as well when you're maintaining things like a healthy diet, when you're getting exercise. Come nighttime, you are more tired. So trying to get back into that routine that sometimes we lose over Christmas. And then in addition to that, I suppose we all know that when we're feeling under the weather, when we're kind of feeling under a bit of stress and we're not getting the right rest, that's when we tend to get more infections, that's when we tend to be unwell, and it's because our immunity is compromised when we're not getting sufficient amounts of rest. So really important.
Yeah, that's actually, we all notice it if we've worked, say, very hard, lack of sleep. That's when people kind of get hit with, say, the common cold or something more serious. You mentioned COVID there at the top, and of course it's so important for us to stay home and follow government guidelines, but are there any particular supplements that would be good for viruses in general if you are not getting a balanced diet right now?
Yeah, and it can be difficult now. I'd say a lot of us are kind of home and a lot of people are cooking, so people do try to get the majority of nutrients they need from their diet. I think a particular call out would be vitamin D, as I said, because we're not getting out as much. We're obviously trying to restrict our movements. There's not a lot of sunshine going, and so vitamin D is really important for building up your immune system. C and your B vitamins are also very important as well. B vitamins are really associated with energy. So while you should get the vast majority of your vitamins from your diet, there are certainly a lot of supplements you can get. And I know we're trying to restrict our movements at present, but you can call your doctor, you can call your pharmacist, you can talk through how you're feeling. And generally from a conversation, you could be able to identify where you maybe have deficiencies. And in that case, you might be able to supplement your diet or augment your diet appropriately and introduce new foods.
And Heather, how long does it take those vitamins to kick in, if you like, say vitamin A and D and C? Do they work straight away, or do they take maybe a day or two or a week to start working properly?
So generally with vitamins, you'd be looking at taking them consistently for a couple of weeks before you'd see any real improvement. And sometimes there can be a bit of placebo effect when you feel real positive when you've started taking vitamins. Sometimes there's certain vitamins that might contain things like caffeine and little things to give you a boost, so you'll obviously feel that straight away. But generally with vitamins, it is a couple of weeks before you'll really feel the benefits from them.
Let's talk about smoking. It is the time of the year that if people smoke, they're trying to give up. Again, I'm sure smoking wreaks havoc on your immune system.
Absolutely. Like smoking, I suppose, it really inhibits a lot of your body's natural kind of response to infection. So we know that smoking is very bad for us. We know that smoking affects our heart. We know that it affects our lung function. And particularly when COVID is circulating in communities, it's really important that we're taking care of ourselves, and our heart and lung function are intrinsic to that. So Smoking does things like when you inhale cigarette smoke, it actually inhibits a lot of the natural barriers to infection in your lungs. So actually smoking can actually increase your risk of contracting COVID-19 because it's easier for those particles to adhere to your lung surface. So with that, it's actually, I suppose, it's the best time ever to be looking towards making that choice and quitting smoking. And there's so much support out there for you. So really important, especially given the pandemic.
Yeah, and the best thing about when you give up cigarettes, Heather, like say, you feel the benefits straight away, almost the following day.
Yeah, it's wild. You feel the benefits very, very quickly. So between 1 to 2 days following on from giving up smoking, you'll find that your energy levels are increasing. And actually that's because there's increased oxygen circulating in your blood. In addition to that, you'll feel that your pulse is reducing, your blood pressure is reducing, and that's within 1 to 2 days. Then following on from that 72 hours, you'll find that your breathing has improved. And as soon as maybe 2 to 3 months after you've given up smoking, actually your oxygen capacity and your lung capacity in your body has increased by 30%. So really, really significant benefits from giving up smoking in a very short period of time. And then I always think one of the most important ones to be cognizant of is after 10 years of not smoking, your risk of contracting lung cancer has reduced by half. So that's a massive statistic. Yeah, so yeah, really, really important.
It is, you're right. And it's never too late. And I suppose as well, it does rob you of those immune fighting vitamins as well, like vitamin C. I mean, every cigarette, I think, steals vitamin C from your body as well, Heather.
Yeah. So smoking in general, it's so bad for your general well-being. And then there's so much kind of associated benefits with giving up. You really do think it is the right life choice to make. And given that there's so much support out there for you, it's absolutely the right decision and it's a great time for it.
Brilliant.
Heather, that's great.
Heather, thanks so much, as always, for joining us today. As always, if you at home, if you have any health concerns, do consult your GP. And of course, you can always call your local pharmacist. For more information, head over to our Facebook page, RTE Today.
The Pharmacy on Today. Sponsored by Boots.